The man found the treasure at the bottom of the sea. He rushed to remove the mud and sand on the top, then picked up the treasure. A closer look was a gold dagger. This is a fortune. He had to add a fried egg to his dinner. He dived into the bottom of the sea again to look for treasure. To his surprise, he found a strange stone. He rushed to the surface to show off to his friends. The friends said it was just a rock. There's no need to make a fuss. But Jack saw something. It turned out to be an ancient ballast stone. This means that there is probably a shipwrecked treasure under the sea. In order to find the treasure, several people changed their equipment and quickly dived to the bottom of the sea, although surrounded by sharks, but also cannot stop their determination to find the treasure. First, they marked the treasure with plastic cones, and then used the detector to find carefully. In a short time, the detector responded. The little pointer kept swinging. Jack was very happy, quickly signaled Tom to come over, saying that there is something down here. Tom took the underwater blower to blow away the surface of the mud and sand. A wrist-thick chain appeared in front of them. They rushed to follow the chain to find, and found an old cannon. This is obviously an antique. The two were overjoyed, hastily tied the cannon with a rope, then used the buoyancy of the airbag to float the cannon. At this critical moment, the marine police arrived on the water. They wanted to check the ship thoroughly. This is the end. If the treasure is found, it will be confiscated. They had to wait for the police to leave the ship. Unexpectedly, the cannon was very heavy. The three men failed to control it and fell into the bottom of the sea. In a panic, Tom's arm got tangled in the rope. The cannon dragged him down rapidly. After landing, Tom's arm was pinned down. The companions tried to move the cannon away, but their strength was not enough. What's worse is that they ran out of oxygen immediately. They had to rely on an oxygen bottle in turn. Breathing this way is not a solution. Luckily, Jack was quick on the uptake. He pumped the remaining oxygen directly into the airbag. The airbag quickly floated up. Combined with the strength of several people, the cannon was finally lifted up. Tom took the opportunity to pull out. The crisis was finally lifted. After they got on board, Jenny found out that the marine police was an old friend of hers. Once he saw that he was a good acquaintance, so they did not continue to check, retreat directly, and at that moment they were full of treasure. The next day, they began to act again, but just after going to sea, and found something even more incredible. The man found an ancient stone. Before he could finish rejoicing, when he saw something flashing in the distance, Tom was very curious and swam over to check. It was a crashed plane. The men opened the hatch, take a flashlight to find out what happened, but found that it was filled with drugs. This made Tom very shocked, and Jack and the hot girl suggested selling the drugs for money, but Tom and Jenny were adamantly opposed. Their purpose is only to find treasure, absolutely not to do illegal things, but they couldn't call the police. Once the police are called, the surrounding waters will be blocked. Then the treasure hunt could not be carried out. So Tom decided to find the treasure first, before calling the police to deal with it, but the hot girl is a bit reluctant. While they were looking for the treasure again, she sneaked into the plane, trying to get a bag of drugs to sell, but accidentally scraped the oxygen tank. Situation is very critical. When everyone surfaced and found that the hot girl was missing, Tom felt bad and rushed to search with the oxygen tank. Finally found the hot girl trapped in the cabin. Fortunately, the plane tilted. Part of the plane was not submerged in water. Only then was she spared. This time the biggest game is 2 ancient pistols and a developed gunpowder barrel. After searching through the ancient books, I found that this shipwreck is a century-old merchant ship Westwind. There are countless treasures inside. If the treasure is salvaged, it will be a great fortune. But when they went to sea the next day, they were targeted by bandits. After the men went into the water, the bandits turned the boat over. Tom and Jack found the anomaly. Together they drove the bandits away, but they recognized from the hat left behind. This should be a treasure hunting captain's men. He is a captain who specializes in treasure hunting. He spends his days at sea with his crew. If he knew the secret of the treasure, it would not end well. They have to find the treasure as soon as possible, but with their current equipment, it is simply a delusion. But they don't have money to buy advanced equipment. Jack suggested selling the drugs, so that they can update their equipment, but Tom refused. But reluctantly, Jack and the hot girl dive into the water, sneak a few packs of drugs, find a local drug dealer to sell, but they were caught in a tiger's mouth. Jack and the hot girl were detained on the spot. It turned out that the drugs were thrown by the gang. The boss immediately called Tom, forced him to hand over all the drugs, otherwise, none of them would survive. Tom had no choice but to do as he was told. But just as the group was retrieving the drugs, something unexpected happened. Millions of dollars of drugs were found at the bottom of the sea. While the two of them were concentrating on the salvage, a big shark swam by. The hot girl did not pay attention. The next second, the shark bite. Her life was in danger. Tom heard the cry for help and quickly jumped into the water to rescue, but the hot girl's thighs were bitten off. Tom had no choice but to cut the rope tied to drugs. First, the girl was sent to the hospital. Due to excessive blood loss, the girl died. Jenny was also very sad after learning the news, but on the way back, he met the gangsters who came to ask for drugs. Tom had to let Jack and Jenny go first. He stayed behind to hold them back. Tom had no choice but to drag out the whole story of the treasure ship. There was at least hundreds of millions of dollars of treasure inside. The two gangsters happily took him on board, only to find a mess inside. Before they could react, they were attacked one after another. It turned out that the treasure hunting captain was interested in the drugs. He took out the drug dealers. He took over the whole ship. Tom was terrified. He jumped overboard and fled. The captain rushed to chase him with his speedboat. Fortunately, Tom hid in front of the boat and was not discovered when Tom arrived at the appointed place. But he didn't find Jenny after a long time. Then he received a phone call. It turns out that Jenny was taken hostage hostage by the captain. He had no choice but to agree to the captain's terms first. Otherwise, Jenny's life was in danger. In order to save Jenny, they had to retrieve the drugs. But at the moment when Tom dived, the captain's men also followed him. They found many bags along the way. It turned out that Jack had dived into the sea beforehand, cut the drugs open. Before the pursuers could react, Tom started to attack. The oxygen cylinder exploded due to the impact. The captain and the plane were immediately blown to pieces. 6 months later, they continued to salvage the treasure. When lifting the barrel of the cannon, the wire suddenly snapped. The cannon plunged to the bottom of the sea. The ship's plate was directly broken, and underneath the ship's plate, there was a pile of golden gold. They finally found a treasure worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Millions of dollars of drugs were found